Hi, happy evening to all of you. Are you able to hear me? Hello? Hi, sorry about the delay. We were having some technical issues. I hope everybody is able to hear. If you can just put a comment back that you have logged in and you're able to hear, I'll be, those of you who are hearing, I'll be able to proceed further. Yeah, good evening to all of you. I think no better way to start the session about redefining boundaries with this very technical mishap that we went through. We had set up the line, we had set up the iPhone, we had set up the iPad, but there seems to be some Chrome issues, so I'm back to Facebook. I think one of the ways is an experiential learning that we set our own mind into some boundaries. Here the constraint was on the browser, and I've come to the smallest of the terminal that I have in now, so my boundary is completely reduced. The footprint is now from a huge computer screen to my iPhone, and I guess the positive thing about it is to take the life as it comes and move ahead. So very happy evening to all of you once again. Thank you to Global Insurance for giving us this opportunity. There was an invite asking, is there anything that we could speak interesting in the session? And I thought one of the things that we could speak about was share my experiences and speak about what are typically, why is it that some of us feel happy at most times, some of us feel frustrated at most times, and what limits us, and many times as women, I have this common question asked, like, oh, you are an entrepreneur, you're a women entrepreneur, or there's also, we see so many initiatives about women empowerment, women development, and there's so much about these classifications and requests. So I thought to share some anecdotes from what I have seen in my life and some introspection that can help us all during this COVID to figure out, the best way to move ahead in our lives. So I'll start with some submissions and confessions that these are my experiences from what I have seen in life, and they are no way prescriptive, right? Everybody charters their own life and goes ahead in which direction they say. But I think one of the fundamental gaps, which I think we all try to address is, and that's why this men, women, empowerment, development, and I myself run a foundation called Purna Shakti Foundation, which is towards women empowerment, is women entered workforce in any form, much later in life than historically than men did. So traditionally men were the hunters going and working for getting the food, and the women was a caretaker taking care at home. So there is a time lag between when women entered work into society and when people were already working. And I mean working, it's not just corporates, it's entrepreneurships. I think anything, you step out, you go and do something so that you take responsibility for even financially, taking care of the house, the economics of it. So there's been a gap, and I think we are constantly trying to fill that gap and go. But as we fill the gap, we need to realize others have already had an headway and advance. So our DNA, the way we have built, the way we have developed, all of that might be another 50 years, 60 years, the gap would be reduced, but we are going to be dealing with the gap. It's somebody who started the race much later than everybody else. So we are in that constant challenge of making it up. So this evening is more about looking at some of the funny sides of it. There's going to be humor. So let's look at some of it. What is really a boundary? If you talk to somebody who's an avid cricket player, cricket watcher, cricket buff, and I have so many in my family, including my husband, who's one. When you hit a six, and if it's in Melbourne, which is the largest ground, the biggest, longest boundary, you're talking about 95 meters on the straight. And you talk another place, you hit a boundary, which is like Ferozagotla or something, we're talking about 60 meters boundary. Now, boundaries are different, right? But the game is same. So cricket is a common game, but in one city when you play, you probably can hit the boundary much. You will get more sixes, and in another city you play, your sixes are going to be less. So is it unfair? I guess it's unfair, but you're still playing cricket, and those are rules of the game. That's one way of looking at boundaries. So you say, I'm playing in this way, so what do I do? So what are the rules of the game? I don't cross this line is a boundary, or I cross this line, I win is a boundary. But that line is very, 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 very flexible, right? Every individual sees the line very, very differently. Unlike a cricket game, in life, those boundaries are very things. So I think one of the ways is we have social norms which define what are those lines. And I think those social norms are defined by where we grew up, where we are born, what's our religion, what's our upbringing, which country we grew in, what language we speak. A lot of them are defined by those boundaries, and those boundaries were set at some point. So why is that when we have to cross something or we have to change something, there's so much of fear in us when we want to change that? Where does that fear come from? That fear comes from, for example, look at the COVID scenario now. We could impromptu go near somebody a few months back, and it was still not touching their personal space unless you come real close. But today, if I come within 2 meters circumference, I have crossed the personal space. So the boundaries have completely got redefined. And today, if you care for somebody, you will respect the boundary space because of health. So where does the shift come from? The shift, basically, I believe, these are my thoughts, these are my experiences, and I think all of you can introspect. There's nothing prescriptive about it as to how you can apply this in your own life and introspect. I want to share a small anecdote, and which set me thinking about boundaries. About 6 years back, I visited a friend, not a dear friend, somebody I knew as a first-time acquaintance. And I happened to visit her home late night at around 8 o'clock. And I was heading back from Chennai to Bangalore, and I thought I'll meet her and board the train. And as I was meeting her and talking to her, and I was talking about the foundation, she was saying, oh, I want to know more about the foundation. I want to understand it. So, in a fraction of a moment, I said, okay. And I called my secretary and told her, can you change my train ticket and see if I can get a good early morning train ticket or a low-cost flight ticket? And I told the first-time acquaintance, oh, it's time. I think I can stay back and let's talk about it. She was puzzled, and the first question she asked is, you just decided? I said, yeah. You didn't speak to anybody? I said, no, I didn't speak to anybody. That set me thinking, and she was like, oh no, you should have checked with somebody about what you're doing and how you're doing, family, work, somebody. I said, no, I felt you were very, very keen in knowing this. So I took a decision at that point, and to her, it looked like completely I violated a boundary line of, I don't know, might be compliance to family, compliance to business. I do not know what it was. But I purely did it with an intent that I'm able to spend time with her for something she was yearning to learn. So that was the first instance I said, why is there difference in how we think? We are all coming from the same place. We are doing things. That set me thinking, no, I think we have set our own do's and don'ts. And somehow we expect that if we comply to that, we are a dedicated, good women. And if we cross those or change those boundaries, I won't even use the word crossing boundaries. I think we redefine those boundaries. I think we are set to fly in whichever direction we go. And what's the advantage of redefining a boundary? When you redefine a boundary, like you say, no, this is me and this is what I want to do. Not with arrogance, not with an attitude, but with simple, humble commitment that you want to live the life the way you want, if when you want to do that, I think we derive the mental strength to make those changes. Uma, somebody could say, Uma, that's easy for you to say. I think you have I have a supporting family. I have a great husband who supports me. It's true, but I think more than support and all of that, I think my anguish really is, I'm working from the age of 14 and I'm now 54, so it's been close to 40 years. And I've closely worked with many people along my life, and I've been on my own for most of my life, so I had the luxury to create or develop the people the way I thought it should be in this world to make this a more democratic place. And one of the things I've observed by working with women, and many times, is how do I develop the confidence in them? How do I make sure that they can also succeed in life with lots of backups? We'll do this, you can do this, you can do this. I realize along the way, we blame the society, we blame our family, we blame somebody else. We give the responsibility to somebody else, saying they did this, so I did not do this. And somehow we choose to stay in the comfort zone. And I think as women, most people in the society are very empathetic. So they say, hey, I'm caring for you. I want to help you. I want to make sure you're comfortable. But along the way, I think I want all men and women in corporate world who are working professionals to really think, did you do justice to what support you got, either from your workplace or from your home place to do it? Because only the individual deeply inside has an idea whether he or she did full justice to it. Because there is an unknown space between work and home and everything else, because at home they think we work very hard at the office. At workplace they think we have a lot of pressure at home. Many times we have seen even schemes like, I did some experiments, like we did a workshop where we called the mother-in-law and of all our women employees. This is more than a decade back, I think, or 14 years back. And we did a workshop to actually say, how is a life of a working woman, right? Because I believed at that time, and I believe still today, I believe corporate should do something like that. Because for a woman who is at home, her understanding of workplace is very different from somebody who is not been to a regular workplace. So encouraging, we have had maids from Purna Shakti Foundation, we have done experiments like that, where we have taken maids to workplaces to show to them how their women leaders are working. There's a distinct shift when people in our ecosystem and support see that, because otherwise their mind, their view is, this is the boundary of this, so this person is working around this boundaries. They are not able to expand their belief system. So one of the ways I think these can be done is for all companies. Like for example, we have done work where in our organization, I run a business, Accent, where we have wonderful people working with us. And one of the things we did in one of the annual get-togethers was celebrate parents of young freshers, over 3-4 years whom we groomed, saying because of their great parenting, we had less efforts to do in the office about basic discipline. They were brought up well. So our focus in the organization was more to develop skills in them, competence in them, but we didn't need to do the hygiene of housekeeping work of making them sure they are disciplined, they come on time, they are sincere, they are committed, they have got integrity and ethics. These were done by great parenting. So we expressed a session of gratitude to the parents, saying, hey, I think thanks to you folks that we are having a reasonably good, easy way to manage the people. But I had a lot of feedback saying, Uma, I don't think we should do gratitude in an office environment. It's not a done thing. It's very like a Karan Johar movie. I said, no. But now after COVID or pre-COVID, post-COVID, I think everybody is promoting by saying, we should have gratitude. I think these boundary lines, which exist between men, women, how work happens, entrepreneurs, professionals, how they think are the norms, workplace norms saying this you can do, this you cannot do, the more it can relate to first principles. So how does somebody redefine boundary and know we are not crossing lines, personal lines? I think a very simple way to know that is there's something called first principles saying anything we do, I think it's become more famous with Elon Musk saying now that anything you start with first principles, you can reformat and innovate in a very different way. What is first principle? They are absolute facts. They cannot be disputed, So we have it in science, we have it in spirituality. So if you take those fundamental laws and say, I'm always working for the good of the other, I'm always working for the good of my colleague, I'm always working for the good of my spouse, I have gratitude, I have loyalty, these are boundaries. I think originally about 100 or 200 years back would have been part of a workplace. Somewhere along those boundaries got shifted or merged, and I only believe that those boundaries will also get redefined. So I want you to introspect, all of you who are watching this now or will watch later, to introspect on a couple of things. That are we being true to ourselves in any work we do? Are we using the tools and the access and the support given to us to the best of the ability? I want to share a very humorous but a very deep experience. We had a few people, who were working with us at some point, they're currently not apart, they moved on in their organization, who wanted a lot of support as a woman working, that they get a flexible time, they want to be when we did that, and me being a lady and heading it, and I thought, yes, this should be done, I found surprisingly something, that when we give these breaks for few, this is specific, this is not about a policy, but I'm just saying how human mind works. So there's this individual lady who's working with us, but she was completely dominated in her home about what she needs to do when she's at home. So when we gave her a few flexibilities within her home, the perception they had was this office has got flexible timings. So let me push the person to do more homework because she has flexible timings. Because the person who was working was mentally not very strong to defend this, we ended up with all the flexible time, not giving her, the person who's working, a break, but rather getting a lot of other people at our home to use her time for getting various other things done. How is that possible? Because there was a social norm. You need to cook for everybody. You need to serve food for everybody. Now, when she was coming in regular time to office, that expectation was not there. When we defined the flexible time and gave it, the expectations from family changed. So I think it's from a social norms. When I'm using the word social norms, it could be even social conditioning. I don't know the exact word, but I'm just trying to give some examples to say that then this then becomes changes to some extent. Somebody will say, no, we shouldn't do this because people misuse it. I think it's most of these boundaries set by workplaces or organizations or at home or at that. I think it's time we revisit those, look at what, and if it needs to be personalized based on an individual because he or she behaves good or bad, I think those boundaries can be changed. The funny part of the experiences of developing people there was two things, and there was a forum where I went and we were a bit early, so I was sitting down and talking to a bunch of girls from various years of experience, and one of them I asked them was, can you rate yourself by saying, we all know that there's no men and women separate. There's masculinity and femininity in everybody. There's a caring part, there's an aggressive part. I mean, everything is combined in every individual. So I said, can you rate yourself as how feminine you are or how masculine you are? Just like a game to understand. And they were very, very reluctant to express it. So I thought I'll ease the process and I quickly asked them, can you sort of tell me, if you can't do for yourself, why don't you rate me? Give me the thing. And then quickly there were percentages like 90-10, 80-20, 85-15, and you guessed it right. The 90 was men and the 15 or the 10 was women. And I was like, no, I'm wearing a bindi, I'm looking feminine, why is there? Then I realized over the years, something which deeply profound was, normally, I think most women have associated ambition and wanting to grow with masculinity, and they believe if they say they want to accomplish something, they want to do something, they will lose their feminine. That was a realization, at least for me, and I said, no, I think that's one of the reasons why some of them, and where did that boundary come from? Who defined that? I think it's just our own experiences of seeing various things, drawing some conclusions out of it. I think today, one of the things with which we started the foundation, the Purna Shakti Foundation about 6 years back, was, can we develop an ethos where the foundation supports people who want to grow? You know, grow can be in anything. Grow is, you could be financially independent. Because you don't, then your self-respect goes. You don't have to ask somebody for money. You can gift somebody money. I think, can we have ambitions? Can we have dreams? And can the system support those dreams? Can the ecosystem support those dreams? I think the responsibility of doing that and changing these boundaries is in every individual who is part of the world today, you know, in whichever role they are. Can we create those? I remember somebody speaking, quoting Maya Angelou and so many other women who have spoken about, you know, how empowering it can be. Can we create a workplace that, you know, working, a feeding mother, you know, mother with a young child can come in, work, take off to feed the child, come back again. I mean, there's so many ways we can redefine these ways we create those boundaries. And I think it's a matter of time over the next few years that I believe will set anew. And COVID is no better time than this for us to introspect. And I think I'm close to 5:30. I mean, we lost about 11 minutes earlier, so I'm not sure if I have more time. But I would encourage all of you to write your questions or anything on that, and might be I'll take some more time later offline and respond to those answers. It's been a pleasure that I was able to talk to you for a few minutes and share my perspective. And it's wonderful to see that Global Insurance is doing this for this period, setting different aspects. I saw something in health, I saw something in stock, money. And somewhere I think if we can refine the boundaries, no better than that. I'm not an active Facebook, and I've never been in Facebook for last 8-10 years. I just got in today with my old logins. I hope to connect and respond to some questions or any thoughts that you might have. And if any of you want to volunteer about anything that you would like to do reach out and be bindas. Don't be worried about things, no drama, no negativity. And the reason I spoke more about women is not about feminism. I think every stage of my life there's a man who's been there at workplace, at home, at somewhere, always supporting some wonderful people who respect everybody and take it. But it's more to bring a sense of, can we rejig those boundaries? Can we rejig those norms and create a better way to live life? And with immense gratitude to my teacher, Matriya, whose teachings is what manifests as thoughts. With immense gratitude to all of you for taking this evening to join me here this evening. Have a wonderful day, and I would love to see you all shine in some way and make it worth our time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.